As President Cyril Ramaphosa says he will announce a date for the election soon, the Centre for Development Enterprise says it's creating what it calls a new roadmap for the cabinet that comes into office after those elections. The Centre says it wants to provide guidance for people who will be governing after the polls. Anne Bernstein is the Executive Director of the Centre. Anne, good afternoon to you and thanks for your time. We can all see that infrastructure is collapsing around us in many places. There are huge problems with governance. What kind of guidance, what kind of roadmap are you trying to provide here?
Oh, certainly. Thanks, Stephen. I don't want to sound as arrogant as you sort of introduced me. It's not as though we have all the answers. But if you look at a lot of the party manifestos for the election, those that have come out, and a lot of the speeches that are being made, everybody's talking about many things that are similar, but very few people are talking about how they're going to improve South Africa's prospects. And so we want to spend time thinking about the absolutely vital issues that have to be put in place and then implemented for South Africa to turn the corner away from the desperate situation we're in. So if you think about the President's engagements with business in the work streams on some key issues, logistics, energy, and crime, this is important, but they're dealing with symptoms. And we're going to try and think very hard and come up with recommendations on the fundamentals that have to change for South Africa to change, to get back on track.
Some of it's quite difficult to do. I mean, Anne, I've spoken to many political parties. They're in manifesto season, and they're all very good at saying what they'll do. But as soon as you say, how will you do it, well, they sort of change the subject. I mean, some of what you're talking about is actually very technical and very difficult.
Indeed, and I've spent the month of January talking to lots of different people, international experts, South African experts, business leaders and some political leaders, and I'll be talking to more on how we can be helpful. Now, you can't, I don't think we're going to be heard much before the election. Politicians are doing what they must do. But we hope to have something after the election when the harsh reality of South Africa's very difficult situation hits whoever is in government, whatever combination or sort of whoever takes power. We want to be constructive and to put some really fundamental issues on the table on the implementation. For example, can we continue to have ministers who really don't know how to run complex departments with very complex systems? If you think of the SOEs or other things, who's in charge? That's one of the first steps that a new government has to take, leadership. But then there's so many crises now in South Africa. Where should you start? So while the politicking is going on, we're going to be thinking very hard about a catalytic set of interventions that can signal to both citizens and investors that things are starting to change in a very fundamental way.
Is your guidance political, Anne? I mean, I can see some political parties, maybe Change Starts Now as an example, that might accept some of your guidance. I can't imagine the EFF would. No, certainly. Look, we're open to talking to anybody, and we know a lot of the political parties in Parliament and some of the new aspirants, and we're confident that if we come up with worthy kinds of ideas and recommendations, we'll have an audience across the spectrum. I don't think the EFF is going to listen to us, but I think a lot of other parties would be interested in what CDE has to say. That's been our experience in the past. Anne Bernstein, thank you. Executive Director at the Centre for Development Enterprise. Really appreciate the time.